We're continuing our conversation on 94.7 Blair Radio, blairradio.com, brought to us by Turnkey Nerds, 402-426-NERD. Dr. Ben Tapper, and you have a chiropractic clinic right here in Blair. What's the name? Tapper Chiropractic?
Tapper Chiropractic, it's really original. Tapper Chiropractic.
Yeah.
Tapper Chiropractic, yeah.
So now when people are coming into you, obviously they, if it's anybody like my family, they wait till, I can't deal with this anymore, so I have to go see somebody.
Right.
But part of that is also they don't want to, or at least I've been in that situation. It's like, I don't want to be stuck. This is my life from now on. How do we get past that?
Well, first of all, I was talking about hope earlier. We need to understand that we can be well. As long as we give the body what it needs, remove interference and allow that body to heal itself, and we can be well. Now, there are certain, limitations of matter. There are some diseases that are very stubborn, and I believe the body can cure cancer, if you give the body what it needs, right? But, it's one of those things where it's a difficult disease to, we have record of people healing from cancer. Mm-hmm. We have people of curing their cancer, and so we know it's possible. Right, so we need to figure out, well, what did those people do? But the thing is, there's a lot of variables to that equation. One is, like I said, the most important is having faith, having hope, and believing that you can be well, having that will to be well. And also taking steps. I always say that your level of health is really dependent upon the choices that you make, right? And if we look at pathology, we haven't been told everything that there is to know about pathology, and I think we've been sold that pathology is really a bigger issue than it is. But pathology really only affects 1 to 2% of the population regarding genetics, right? We're told that we're sick because of bad genes, right, or bad luck, or bad germs, but that's really bad science. It's really when it goes down to it, if we look at disease and pathology can be blamed on 1 to 2% of the population, blamed on genetics. But if it's not a genetic issue, it's what we call an epigenetic. Mm-hmm. It's lifestyle acquired. And so that means that majority of disease is dependent upon the choices that we make. Right. And so that's why we need to eat well, we need to move well, we need to think well, we need to pray well, relate well, and we can be well. Our body adapts its physiology to meet the load it's under. So if we're under high stresses, we're smoking, we're inactive, we're laying around watching TV, we're eating nutritionally bankrupt foods all the time, we have high emotional stress, what do you think that's going to do to the body? Your body's going to adapt its physiology. It's like we're swimming in a pool with rocks in our backpack, and we don't realize it. Well, we're all swimming in a pool. That's called life, right? Mm-hmm. Life's not easy. We're swimming. We have to tread water. We have to keep our head above water. It's hard enough to do that without any stresses, but you add physical stresses to that, you add emotional stresses to that, you add chemical stresses to that. What do you think that's going to do? It's adding rocks in that backpack, and it's putting a ton of stress on the body from a physiological standpoint, from an immunological standpoint. It's putting stress on that nervous system. We live our life through our nervous system, and so basically it's harder and harder to tread water. That allostatic load is increasing tremendously, and guess what? Eventually you're going to be underwater, and that's when disease sets in. That's when a disturbed condition sets in, and that's when we recognize symptomatology, or when we realize it, and that's when we're like, oh, we need to do something about it. And that's why Benjamin Franklin said an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Mm-hmm. We need to value our health now before we get sick. But the problem is 80 to 90% of the people are reactive when it comes to their health care.
Right.
They wait till something comes in, like, oh, I need to do something about it. I want a quick fix now. And it's like, well, my whole philosophy is I'm a doctor of wellness. I'm a doctor of prevention. Come in, we brush our teeth every day. Well, we prevent cavities, right? We take good care of our dental hygiene. The dentists have done a great job at educating the people on taking care of our teeth. Well, guess what? I can get dentures if need be, but I can't replace my spine. Right. So I'm in the business of spinal hygiene. I'm trying to educate people on that because our nervous system is housed in the spine. We only get one nervous system. We live our life through that nervous system. And so it's very important to make sure that we are taking care of that nervous system. And so a chiropractor's job is so much more than musculoskeletal, so much more than pain-based. Our goal is to get you to function well. Yes, you can feel better, but my goal is to get you to function well, right? I mean, I was a freshman in college, and I was kind of young and dumb, and my friend and I were we're tailgating and we had no business of being behind a wheel, and we hit a patch of ice going 80 miles an hour. And we're in the back roads of Iowa. It was 5 degrees outside. We barrel rolled. I got flown from the truck 80 miles an hour. I broke my back in 3 spots, and the doctors told me, "Oh, you're not gonna be able to play sports. You're not gonna be able to be active. You're not gonna be able to do the things you used to do." And so I became that. My diagnosis.
Right.
I believed him. I said, "Okay, it was a life sentence for me." And guess what? I became very depressed. I became hopeless, and I gained a bunch of weight. I was in constant pain all the time. I had severe heartburn all the time, indigestion. And I went to Dr. Burns in Illinois, and I lived that way for 6 years. And Dr. Burns said, "Man, you had quite the accident." He took an X-ray series on me, and he put me on a plan. And I think it was probably like the 2nd or 3rd week of the plan, he adjusted into my spine, into the areas of the fractures. And, if you tell that to someone that doesn't understand chiropractic, they would probably like, "Oh my goodness, that's dangerous," right? Well, chiropractic is very specific. And so he adjusted into that area, and I felt like he removed a steak knife on my back. And it was like for the first time in 6 years, I felt just, normal. I felt like I had a rock in my shoe this whole time. I didn't realize it. And so then I started exercising again. I started really living this lifestyle, and my heartburn went away. Everything went away. I started getting better, and now I'm preaching it.
Yeah.
And that's why I always tell people, I know what it's like to be in that rut, to be hopeless, to be in that position where it might seem hopeless, but you got to have faith that knowing full well that you can be well, and don't give up. That's the biggest thing. And knowing full well, I've said this before, but your body's ability to heal itself and to overcome disease and situations and circumstances is far greater than anyone has permitted us to believe. And so that's why I kind of fight with Big Pharma, because they just want to convince you, this is your diagnosis, take this pill the rest of your life, there's nothing you can do. Just rely on them, and that's not the truth. The truth is that your body can be well. It's starving to be well. It wants to be well. It wants to be in a state of ease, not a state of dis-ease. But the problem is, as a Christian, sin has entered the world. We have food that's nutritionally bankrupt. We're not eating food anymore. We're eating food-like products. Food that's designed to smell better, taste better, look better, but it's nutritionally bankrupt. We're exposed to more chemicals than ever before. We have more pesticides than ever before. Look at our workloads, our stress, I feel like our dollar is buying less and less and less due to the amount of inflation, the amount of we're printing our dollar, but that puts financial stress on us. I mean, think about, I feel like more financial stress now than ever before in the economy and the people. I feel like people are struggling more now than ever before, and they're just running rampant, and so we're not getting rest. And, there's a difference between physical rest and spiritual rest. And there's a big difference there. And so people think that they're going to find rest by just chilling and watching Netflix or just hanging out watching movies. But I feel like we need to get back to God's word and be like, okay, we need to find that biblical rest, because that's the only place you're going to find that rest.
Well, it goes back to, it has to be body, soul, and it's mind to spirit.
Yes.
All of that is when you can get peace there.
Right.
Then road to recovery is not just a catchphrase.
Right. Amen. Right. Yes, exactly right.
So, because that's kind of one of the concerns a lot of people have, because we have been in such a situation where, well, here's your pill, you have to take this for the rest of your life.
Right.
Is there, a way to be able to move past that, or to be actually healthy?
Right.
And how do you build that plan?
Right. I mean, here's the thing too. Medicine is designed to be a temporary thing. It should be used to get you past a temporary situation, right? Like I don't 100% endorse antibiotics. I think they can cause massive problems. Any antibiotic that ends in IN can cause tendon damage, tendon tears, or it's terrible in the gut. But it can be life-saving, right? So, when do you use it?
Yeah.
I know people are like, "Oh, I've been taking antibiotics for years for acne." I'm like, "Oh, no, you should not be doing that," right? And so we need to understand that medicine has a time and place. There's a time and place for it. But I believe that, it should be something that's very temporary, and, but if it's helping you get past that hurdle, I think it's allowable. But again, we need to take the steps towards wellness as a continuum. Our level of health is a continuum, right? So it's basically every choice you make has a consequence. It's kind of like Newton's third law, right? For every action, there's opposite and equal reaction. Our choices are no different. So it's a continuum. So either we are moving towards health and wellness, or we're moving towards sickness and disease. And if you're in that disease state, well, are you making the steps and making the choices that are leading you towards health and wellness? But the problem is we put all our faith into medicine, or all our faith in big pharma, and all our faith into doctors, thinking that they're going to get us to that point, and then we don't want to take any responsibility for our choices. And that is inaccurate. We need to understand that almost 95% of our health is dependent upon us,
right?
Our choices that we make.
So kind of into that, it is the ability to ask questions and being more involved in what's happening to you.
Yes. 100%.
Because a lot of times we are, well, it's the doctor knows best.
Right.
Instead of, well, why?
Yeah.
What can we do? How do we get past this?
Yes,
These are questions that we've been kind of trained not to ask.
Right. And that's the thing. And I feel like dialogue is not welcome in the doctor's office anymore. And I mean, the true doctor, the true physician, are the practicing physicians that care. That's the thing. If you feel like that your doctor does not care about you, then you need to find a different doctor. And I don't believe in, a lot of these docs I've talked to, they use almost like a fear type dialogue with their patients, and I believe that's coercion. One of my great mentors said that fear is the fire that fuels the furnace of disease.
Right.
And we need to understand that fear mongering has no place in a doctor's office. A doctor's office, I view healthcare as ministry. A doctor's office should be a place of finding encouragement, inspiration. I feel like it's a safe place, but that has been, you're going to find that few and far between anymore in today's world. And the doctors, we have lost that art of healing. We have lost that art of ministry inside in the clinics. And we need to understand that, and find a doctor and finding those people that truly care. That is the number one thing that I try to instill in my patients. And I tell my patients I love them. I tell them welcome to the family. My mission at my chiropractic clinic here is to love people. It is not to, I used to have this big dorky long mission statement that was all about love chiropractic and the great physician that lies within, all this nerdy stuff. And it's like, man, I just cut all that out and I said my mission now is to love people, and that's what it's all about. And so, but again, we have put these MDs on the pedestal as if they're like these godlike figures, and that they know everything, and just trust them and don't ask questions, and that's the problem, right? I mean, even Benjamin Rush, he was a signer of the Declaration of Independence, stated, during the back in the day, that we should put medical freedom into the Constitution, because a time will come when medicine will organize into an undercover dictatorship to restrict the art of healing to one class of men. And I believe that time is now, because we have neglected that there are other doctors, that there are other alternative voices out there. There are other forms of healing in the natural realm, but Big Pharma is trying to monopolize it, squash it, silence it, and censor it, and hinder it from the people. It's like, are you kidding me? Because they just want to monopolize the whole industry and just funnel everybody to them. They want to control all sickness, and they don't want to cure it, but they want to manage it, and that's the problem, right?
Right. And so, that brings up a lot of thoughts. We're going to come back and continue that conversation right here on 94.7 Blair Radio, blairradio.com.